À l'occasion 15e anniversaire à la journée internationale à Nelson Mandela, qui célébrait chaque 18 juillet, un événement commémoratif tient lieu dans son Nelson Mandela la Talking Pointe-Sable sur la veille, placé sous thème Nelson Mandela et les droits humains, réflexions et responsabilité. Sa initiative-là, c'est une collaboration entre Centre Nelson Mandela pour qu'il tient africain et Commission nationale droits humains.
I wish to thank the National Human Rights Commission, especially Mr. Jean-Marie Richard, for initiating this powerful partnership. Her Excellency, the High Commissioner of South Africa, for her continued support and for honoring us with her presence and keynote address. Our speakers and guests present who continue with us in the spirit of Ubuntu, and allow me most sincerely, to extend a very special thank you to the staff of the Nelson Mandela Center, whose dedication, professionalism and determination have made this event possible.
Nelson Mandela, un révolutionnaire sud-africain et premier président noir de ce pays-là, fin un symbole universel de la justice et pardon après qu'il y passe 27 ans de prison. Ce combat marque l'histoire.
Bien connu qui le sent Nelson Mandela, il porte le nom Nelson Mandela avec beaucoup de fierté depuis 1998, date à laquelle Nelson Mandela est venu à Maurice pour sa première et seule visite officielle en tant que président noir démocratiquement élu, et il y pose la première pierre de ce nouveau bâtiment-ci. Donc, dès lors, nous faisons un devoir chaque année de commémorer le Nelson Mandela Day en mémoire de sa grande là et en mémoire de tout bonne valeur qu'il s'y représentait. Alors, cette année-ci, nous mettons le thème sur le human rights, les droits humains, et qu'il est important, de par la vie et l'œuvre de Nelson Mandela, qui mettent en lumière le travail qu'il a fait faire durant toute sa vie, justement, pour Human Rights, qui est capable d'inspirer nous.
Forgiveness is very important. We learned this from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission set up by Nelson Mandela after our independence, where you need to know exactly the truth about what has happened in order for you to forgive and be able to move forward. That's how we have made peace with each other, even the people who have committed crimes against us.
When he was sentenced to life imprisonment at the Rivonia trial, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment for sabotage, for treason against the state. But at the root of what he endured and what he was sentenced for, he was fighting for one principle, one universal principle, that all men and women are born equal. Now think about this. Because of his attachment to this ideal, because of his belief in this fundamental principle, he had to serve 27 years of imprisonment. He tells his white brothers, his black brothers, his Indian brothers, his African brothers, everyone, that we are one family. Every one of us deserve to be respected.
We learned from that particular advice from our president that he has suffered in jail, and when he went out of jail, he has forgiven all those who incarcerated him. And that's how we learned to forgive those who committed atrocities against our people.
He made sure that all his co-detainees would enjoy the same treatment if it was ever extended to him. And he would not accept any favor from the then prison authorities unless it was extended to all, unless prisoners were given respect, treated with dignity. And he started what was known as the wool blanket protest, where he had to enforce the idea of self-respect and he refused prison. It's precisely for this reason that the United Nations Standard Principles, Standard Minimum Rules for Treatment of Prisoners, were renamed the Nelson Mandela Rules in 2015 in honor of his legacy and his long struggle for human rights.
Mandela has given us quite a number of messages. One which is important for us for now, particularly for the young generation, is that education is the most powerful tool that can be used to conquer the world.
Nous apprend beaucoup. Déjà, moi, je connais que Nelson Mandela traverse tout ça là pour qu'il, comment dire, nous gagne droit et na ban camarades de différentes couleurs de peau ou alors différentes religions.
Je suis content Nelson Mandela sa façon de travailler parce qu'il fait, il n'a aucun problème avec n'importe quelle religion et aussi il est important que comment dire, tout ressoudé.
The whole system have to be revamped and reconsidered. The court system cannot work in the traditional way. We must get court, Human Rights Commission, all institutions to go back to the community. We must understand the plea of our youth, what is going, how unemployment, the cost of living, the dangers of internet without supervision, alongside those who make legislation, alongside government. We want to see a better Mauritius.
Dans le contexte qui nous était actuellement, avec vu que le gouvernement promet de mettre en place une Constitution Review Commission et aussi dans ce programme électoral, l'India qui prend un amendement important de la Constitution. Alors l'important, comment nous disons en anglais, prend l'inspiration, draw inspiration de comment est-ce que Madiba s'y fait avec la Constitution sud-africaine en termes de ce ban de provision et tout.
We want to honor and inspire ourselves from the memory of this great man, a man who has shown us that his belief in human rights, in forgiveness, in reconciliation through the Truth and Justice Commission can only take humanity a step further.
As Africa, I am confident that we have got the capacity to rule ourselves for as long as we can be given space to also include our traditions and custom into our rules, because that's what we are born with. It will be an advantage for us to rule our continent much better.
What we see after the Holocaust and after the Second World War, a set of standards and rules for human rights is blatantly being violated in the rise of the whole world. And we are sitting every day watching on our television the death of children, the death of a whole community, the starvation of a community, the deprivation of essential supplies, food, medicine. Yet, we are all helpless. All the international institutions are helpless to come to rescue. These are lessons we should draw, we should learn from. These are lessons which we should never forget. And this is why today we have had to celebrate and remind ourselves that on this planet there walks someone known as Nelson Mandela. Thank you.
This tribute is down memory lane, a tribute to a freedom fighter. And down memory lane, we remember but he was labeled and branded as a terrorist. Mandela was an inmate of a harsh prison of the apartheid regime and walked out to become, what's a brilliant illustration of rehabilitation, president of his country. And what a president, which won him reverence and acclaim worldwide. The rest is history.
54% of manganese is in Africa. 40% of gold is in Africa. And 18% of uranium is in Africa. It is the yearning for this wealth that influenced the resolution of the 1885 Berlin Conference of the colonial powers, which resulted in Africa being divided into 54 pieces. But otherwise, we're Africa, we're one. Each of the colonial powers obviously ended with a piece of at least one piece of Africa to govern on the assumptions that as Africans, we may not have the capacity to govern ourselves. Although we had many kingdoms in Africa that were ruling the continent efficiently in line with our African customs and traditions. These powers imposed foreign systems of government, characterized by master-servant relationship, which completely eroded the fundamental human rights in Africa. Under the colonial rule, particularly the colonizers who called themselves Afghaners in South Africa, South Africa was subjected to severe oppression and racially based system of government. Indigenous South Africans were forcefully removed from their fertile land and resettled in small pieces of barren land, clustered according to their tribal groupings. With no service, no water, no roads, no electricity, who were dumped there. Inferior education was specifically designed and legislated for blacks as Bantu education. It was meant to prepare us for subordinate roles in our lives, including manual labor and low labor jobs. Health services were limited to the prevention of communicable diseases that would have spread to the white community as well. That was the main purpose. It is this pattern of racial segregation that led to the coining of the term apartheid, which simply described the legislated part of the deeply entrenched racial segregation in one African's world, apartheid. From birth, Nelson Mandela found himself in this particular environment. He was born into abject poverty, not because he did not land, but he was put somewhere where the land was barren. He grew up in the sea of nothingness. He witnessed the forced removals. He pursued his education at the mercy of goodwill relatives. He saw the passing of the Bantu Education Act in 1953, that is Act 47 of 1943. He worked in racially designated environment where he suffered persistent harassment, and he spent the major portion of his life advancing the cause of liberation for South Africa underground, followed by 27 years of incarceration in a racially designated prison.
C'est un immense plaisir pour moi pour présenter ce livre, Nelson Mandela, un livre qui fait faire pour les enfants. mais qui, bien sûr, un adulte pour être aux autres là-dedans. Moi, j'ai 13 ans quand je finis la famille de Terre de Paix, et après, j'ai 15 ans quand je finis Amnesty International. Tous les deux finissent être une extra l'université pour moi. Dans cette époque-là, je peux faire des codes, des citations, comment nous dire, sur Internet, pour qu'ils soient capables de faire des GP essays, comment nous dire. Donc, je suis extrêmement content de citations. Et jusqu'à aujourd'hui, je commence tout le temps un texte, que ce soit pour l'université, par une citation. Et ma citation de Nelson Mandela finit toujours bien inspire moi. À cette époque-là, jamais je suis l'idée qu'il y a une zone, je suis là devant eux pour présenter un livre, Nelson Mandela. Donc, je suis content de remercier le centre d'abord, parce que cet endroit-là finit beaucoup inspire moi. À chaque fois qu'ils me viennent là, non seulement tout le temps nous faisons prendre une selfie avec Nelson Mandela, mais il y a beaucoup de trésors là-haut et que j'espère que vous avez l'occasion de visiter un peu les livres et guetter un peu les livres qui est là. Ça fait moi extrêmement plaisir quand je visiter ici. Donc, merci pour cette opportunité-là. Merci aussi à la National Human Rights Commission, au chairman et à tous les membres qui font de moi l'opportunité pour présenter ce livre-là et qui ce livre-là arrive dans la prison parce qu'il me sait qu'il est capable d'inspirer beaucoup de prisonniers qui sont là-bas et que fait inspirer une meilleure la vie.
Nous sommes depuis les connus, nous avons beaucoup de choses et nous avons aussi un livre, nous pouvons lire et nous pouvons apprendre beaucoup de choses.
So our young people should learn that they should be educated and have that tool to be able to change the world and the situation in which we find ourselves in order to achieve human rights and an equal society.
We look at the Constitution as a document, as the supreme law, but very often we forget the abstract concept behind it, which is constitutionalism, right? So the Constitution is the supreme law, it's a material document, but constitutionalism is the philosophy behind it in terms of it's a commitment, political or otherwise, that I will behave, I will have my actions in accordance with the Constitution, whether in your personal or your private life. Pour Mandela, Constituent Assembly, c'est très important parce que c'est ça qui permet de donner la voix. Right? C'est ça qui permet d'entreprendre de la consultation pour qui nous connaît Bedimoun en réalité qui peut bizarre. Parce qu'il defeat the purpose pour qui nous crée un Bill of Rights que the common person, the common man, les amène à participer, les pas connaît, les pas réussi gagne l'occasion exprime lui-même en termes de pour les qui droit important ou pas. We inherited our constitution through a process which was I would say 100% colonial in the sense that we, as the people of Mauritius, did not contribute towards the drafting of our constitution. It was drafted in the UK, and then documentation would tell you that at the same time, 15 other constitutions were also being drafted at the same time. So, I mean, we can understand that it lacks some degree of contextualization for that matter. Nos constitutions pas même fait mention de woman, la femme, pas même fait mention des enfants. Mandela, c'est un jour qui Constituent Assembly pour mentionner la femme, pour mentionner les enfants dans la loi suprême. Alors, de ce fait, pour moi, il est extrêmement important que si jamais sa commission-là peut mettre en place, alors les amendements constitutionnels, surtout concernant nos Bill of Rights, ne doivent pas se faire comme un exercice, comment on dit, élite, technique, mais ça doit se faire d'une perspective extrêmement pratique, comme on nous disait, de grassroots. Alors, il est très important que ce gouvernement vienne avec un modèle pour faire tout un chacun participer dans une façon meaningful, d'une façon genuine, en ce qui concerne l'amendement de la Constitution. En fait, moi, c'est mon seul souhait. Si nous réussissons à faire ça, je suis persuadé que the rest, we will get it right.
The most pleasant task of this morning's program. So I want, on behalf of all of you, thank from the heart this grand lady from South Africa, who is ambassador in Mauritius and making us very proud for having kindly accepted to deliver the keynote address this morning. So we would also like to thank the Nelson Mandela Center, his director, Stefan, my good friend, for having also opened his doors and happily welcome us in the Nelson Mandela Center.
Dr Manzini il est avec nous ici à Maurice depuis 2020 ou 2021 et malheureusement Soutenons arrive à la fin cette année-ci et que she has always been very supportive towards the Nelson Mandela Center and our activities, and to me also for my PhD. And as a token of appreciation, we want to remit a small souvenir to you to bring back to South Africa.
From the one outside to the ones inside, we say.
Message Mandela résonne toujours. Droits humains, l'éducation, pardon et la justice. Ça la zone est marquée par ban message, souvenir d'Eli et que l'inspiration pour ban génération future, le Koumama Diba pour rester toujours un exemple.